Manobistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupakadamyam darati svapadantikam. Okay, today's theme, I think appropriately after the experience we just had, is about the Ratha Yatra. There was another big event that happened today. I don't know how many of you were watching the World Cup, but over 2 billion people around the world came to watch this soccer match. It's the biggest thing going on in the world right now, in the material world. Everybody's talking about it. The President of the United States was there, the President of Mexico was there, the Prime Minister of Canada was there, the King of Spain, there was celebrities, all sorts of people were there. There was Shakira and Madonna and Justin Bieber, they all gave performances. It was quite a stir in the world. Well, what we just did was quite a stir in the spiritual world. This has been going on for millennia, from time immemorial. People have been doing this Ratha Yatra festival. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this Ratha Yatra, what some of the meanings are, and how we can apply it to our daily lives. In Puri, a city in India, this week, during the Ratha Yatra festival, there was about almost 2 million people converged on the city of Puri to celebrate this festival that we just had. And it's being celebrated all over the world, thanks to Srila Prabhupada, who I'll talk about here in just a bit as well. This festival has been going on for thousands, millions, quadrillion years, all over the universe, and it's constantly happening. It is eternally happening at the very present moment, constantly throughout the millennium. Let me go back 5,000 years to the original pastime as it was performed here on this earth. This is a pastime that's been performed eternally throughout the different universes. It happens in the spiritual world constantly. This is Krishna and the gopis at Kurukshetra. There was another big event, even bigger than the World Cup, and it was called the solar eclipse. And all the saints and sages and all the holy people and everybody that had any interest in spirituality was going to this place called Kurukshetra so that they could participate in ceremonies associated with this solar eclipse. Kurukshetra is a little bit more famous for the place where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. But the reason that the Bhagavad Gita was spoken in this particular place is because it's a very holy place where a lot of sacrifices have been done, offerings to the Lord. So anyone who was anyone was going to Kurukshetra to do offerings. Krishna was among them. He went, he was the king, but he took some armies and all of his chariots, and he went with all the pomp and ceremony that belongs to a king, and he went to Kurukshetra. Well, before he was a king, he was a simple cowherd boy living in a village with loving devotional relationships with the village people. And the people in his village, in a place called Vrindavan, they heard that Krishna is coming to Kurukshetra. And that was close enough for them that they could actually go and try to see Krishna again. They had felt so much separation from him, living when he went away to be king. And so they thought, this is our opportunity to go and see Krishna again and associate with him. And so they all went to Kurukshetra. But it wasn't the same, because Krishna was a little bit different. He was the king now. He had all sorts of queens. He had all sorts of armies. He had all of this paraphernalia about him. And it wasn't the same like it was back in the village. And so they worshipped him along with everybody else. They participated in the ceremonies. But they thought if we could just get Krishna back in Vrindavan, then we could have those loving exchanges that we always had with him. So Krishna, God, is a king. He has lots of pomp and ceremony. But in his original person, his original essence, he lives in a village setting with his devotees in loving devotional relationships. So his devotees from that village wanted to have that back. So as he was trying to go back to his kingdom, they said, nope, not so fast, you're coming back with us. So they grabbed the ropes of his chariot and they started pulling him back, the gopis did, forcefully trying to take him back, pulling him back within their own hearts so that they could take him back to the village setting and have those loving devotional exchanges like they used to have. So this is the original pastime that we're celebrating with the Ratha Yatra, is this pastime of the gopis, trying to pull back Krishna back to the village setting and pull him back within their hearts. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years ago, practiced this same ceremony, the same Ratha Yatra ceremony that we just practiced. He was in Puri. Wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes, that's him up there on the top there, wherever he would go, people would follow him. He was quite famous. People were trying to get his association as well. And so when he was in Puri, doing this Ratha Yatra festival, anyone who is anyone, just like that World Cup, just like the Ratha Yatra that we've been talking about, just like the Kurukshetra ceremony, anyone who is anyone tried to go there. So great personalities like Balabhadra Vachacharya, Advaita Prabhu, all of these great souls that wanted to be in association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this pastime. And Chaitanya was famous for dancing in front of the Rath cart as everybody pulled the ropes, pulling Krishna within their own hearts. This is a feeling ceremony. This is a ceremony where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to see what it felt like to be a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord. And so he danced in ecstasy, and he associated with all of those devotees, and he pulled Krishna within his own heart. This is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu celebrated this. So let's go back a little bit about how Krishna got this form of the Jagannath deities, of the Jagannath deity. There was a celestial architect named Vishvakarma. Vishvakarma was hired by a king named Indradyumna. This was millennia ago, to make a form of the Lord, a worshipable form of the Lord. Now, this is the king's commission, so this was a high stakes value deity that he was asking to be created. So Vishvakarma told King Indradyumna, okay, I'll do it, but I need 21 days where I can be alone, creating these deities, and if anybody comes in, I'll stop the work and I won't finish it. Indradyumna agreed to that, but he couldn't keep himself from seeing the Lord, from getting that darshan of the Lord. So he went in, and before the architect could finish his work, he had to leave it, because that was the deal. And so these deities, you'll notice, they don't have arms, or they don't have hands, they don't have feet. They're built a little bit different from the other deities, a little bit larger scale eyes, and have different features than other deities of Krishna that you see. And this is because they weren't finished, but they were declared to be worshipable still. And so they were worshipped for millennia and millennia and millennia, and they're still being worshipped today. Okay, so that's how the deities got their form. There's a longer story to it, but that's the quick version. About 14 days ago, we had a ceremony here called the Snan Yatra. The Snan Yatra was when we took those deities and we bathed them. We gave them a bath with different paraphernalia, with water, with ghee, with yogurt, with all sorts of good-smelling, scentful things. And we worshiped those deities, and we gave them a bath. But sometimes when you take a bath, you get a cold, especially if you're out in the open elements, like these deities, because they were taken outside for their bath. And so the deities got a cold, and for 15 days, the last 15 days, they've been in repose. We have been in anticipation, holding with bated breath, to see if these deities would get better so that we could take them out for the walk that we just had around the temple. It's just like that World Cup game that I started talking about from the very beginning. It was a nail biter down to the very last minute, right? This was a nail biter in the spiritual world this past time. So for 15 days, Lord Jagannath rested. And then at the temple in Puri, there's a temple called the Gundicha Temple. At the Gundicha Temple, the devotees prepare for the Lord to come. They're expecting the Lord to leave the temple and to be paraded around like we just paraded the Lord. And they cleaned the temple, spotless. They cleaned the whole temple yard. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participated in this festival. And it represents cleaning our own hearts, preparing a place for the Lord to come and join us in our heart. So when you have a chance to ever come to the temple and do some cleaning, yesterday would have been a very auspicious day to do that. So any of you that volunteered here yesterday working on the gardens or working on the grounds here, that was a very auspicious cleaning of the temple along with Lord Jagannath. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada called this a filling festival. He said, Lord Chaitanya taught us how to feel separation of God. So this Ratha Yatra festival is very nice. Filling festival for the Vaishnav. And anyone who is participating in this festival, he'll gradually develop his dormant love for God. So this process of taking the Lord around the temple, that was a way of awakening that dormant love of God that you have within your own heart. How could you not feel more affection for the deity after having paraded him around like that and treated him and had that ceremony in the company of other devotees? It's contagious, this devotion to the Lord, when you're in community like that, when you're in association with other devotees. So this festival is very famous in Puri. I mentioned almost 2 million people converged on Puri in the middle of huge rainstorms there this year in order to participate in this festival. But Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple so that others can see him, so that people can see him. That temple in Puri is famous for not allowing everyone to enter. Those Vaishnavas or Brahmins, even from the West, are not able to go into that temple to see the Lord. The only way that everyone can see the Lord is when he comes out, he extends his mercy to everybody to give his darshan so that we can view him. But how many of you can fly to Puri and battle 2 million people for a hotel room in Puri? It's very difficult to get there. There's billions of us on the planet. How are we all going to converge on that small town of Puri to be able to see the Lord? Well, Srila Prabhupada recognized this, and he knew that he could take the Lord all around the world so that we could all get this view, so we could also all get this mercy. He'd been practicing this ever since he was a little kid. He would organize his friends, and he got a little Roth cart that his father gave to him, and he would organize his friends to parade around the Jagannath deities. He'd been doing this his whole life. So when he came to the West, when he came to San Francisco, he saw a flatbed truck, and he got the idea, we could take a flatbed truck like that, and we could have a big Ratha Yatra. It would call people's attention, and it would give the darshan of the Lord to people that don't come to the temple. We can take it out into the streets. And so this Ratha Yatra has been practiced all over in major cities throughout the world. They go through all of the big cities here in North America in a big tractor-trailer truck, and they have this festival everywhere. It's going to be in Los Angeles, famously. If you want to see the deities treated, to a very high standard, you can go to Los Angeles the first week of August and participate in this festival. So Prabhupada brought this to the West. Well, how did I get here to Utah? Well, that's Charu Prabhu and Vaibhavi Mataji. They're the ones that brought this tradition here to Utah so that we could participate in this festival. And so we are able to be part and parcel of this, of the biggest thing that's going on in the spiritual universe. If you watch the World Cup, that was nothing compared to what we just witnessed today, this Ratha Yatra here in Utah. Now I'm going to back up a little bit and explain a little bit, like I was talking about Krishna as a king, as opposed to Krishna in the village setting. When Krishna's in Dwarka, we treat him very much like a king. And this temple kind of represents Dwarka, the way that we treat the deities. We dress them up very nicely. They're very beautiful. We garland them. We sing and we dance and we do things for the pleasures, for the pleasure of the Lord. And we do that very much as if we are in the courtyard of Krishna and Krishna is up on the throne. This is very much like Krishna in Dwarka. But if you go outside, there's llamas, there's a farm, there's fish, koi fish in a lake. It's very much like a village setting out there. And so we can worship Krishna in both of those ways. We can understand him as the king, and we can come up and give him his due reverence. But we can also develop that loving relationship like they do in Vrindavan, in that village setting. So Krishna in Dwarka and Krishna in Vrindavan can be compared. Krishna in Dwarka as the king is like Krishna in the office, doing the work, making sure everything is going on within the kingdom. But Krishna at home is like Krishna in Vrindavan. When the businessman or the judge or whoever's in office goes home, he has a very different relationship with people at home. So Krishna in Dwarka is like Krishna in the office. Krishna in Vrindavan is Krishna at home. And we have different relationships and ways of associating with him in those ways. Where God reveals his most intimate aspects, those aspects of love, eternal, loving, devotional relationship, is Krishna in Vrindavan. And this is what the gopis, when they were in Kurukshetra, were trying to get. That sweet relationship with God. The one that they can only have with Krishna at home, with God at home, in that loving, devotional, intimate relationship. And so they were pulling him with the ropes, trying to pull him back into that kind of relationship. Okay, so in the temple, we reverence Krishna as the king, and at home, we have that loving, devotional relationship with him. Krishna approaches us in the Rath cart outside, in mercy, outside the temple, as Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath is a very merciful form of the Lord. The king can't always be so merciful. The king's, got to lay down the law sometimes. But in his mercy, in this Jagannath form or in other merciful forms of the Lord, we can approach by approaching other devotees that are serving. Those devotees that are serving by creating Ratha Yatra festivals, we can serve them. And we can create Ratha Yatra festivals all over the globe in that way. So pulling the ropes is inviting the Lord into our hearts, just like the gopis pulled on those ropes to invite the Lord back into a loving relationship. We can pull the Lord into our hearts. But there's lots of ropes that are being pulled in our lives. There's people that are pulling our ropes in different directions. There may have been someone that tried to dissuade you from coming to the temple today to do something else, and they pulled you in one direction. Or you may have other desires. You might have ignorant desires. You may have desires in the mode of passion. You maybe even have good desires that are outside the worship of the Lord. There's all sorts of things that we can be doing that pull us in all sorts of directions. But if we can coordinate with the Lord and pull in the direction of our heart and bring him into our hearts, then we're in lockstep with the Lord and we're not pulled in different directions away from the Lord. So start by preparing your heart to be a place where Krishna wants to be. Clean your heart, just like we clean the temple. before we take the Lord out and invite him in back into the temple, we clean our heart so that the Lord has a place where he wants to be in association with us. He's always there, but he doesn't always feel free to manifest himself to us within our hearts when it's cluttered up with other things. So how can we pull God into our heart? How are some practical ways that we can actually do this in our lives? Well, one thing is get darshan of the Lord, or come and see the Lord. If you can't see the Lord, you can't pull him in any direction. You can say, well, the Lord's everywhere. God is everywhere. God is in the heart of every living being. So why do I need to come to the temple to see the Lord? Well, that's true. But are you paying attention? Are you really seeing God in every living being? When you come to the temple, you have to pay attention because he's front and center. We're banging on drums. We're on cymbals. We make it very obvious. This is the Lord. And you can worship the Lord in this place, in this way. And so coming and seeing the Lord and getting that view of the Lord in the temple gives you practice so that you can see the Lord elsewhere throughout the universe in your daily life. You can hear about the Lord. You have to hear these pastimes to be able to understand them. If we'd never heard the pastime of the gopis pulling the Lord into their hearts at Kurukshetra, we would have no idea about that. If we didn't know about Lord Jagannath, if we didn't know any of these stories, we didn't know the Bhagavad Gita, if we hadn't heard any of it, there's no way that we can do some sort of coordinated way of pulling God into our heart if we don't know who or what we're pulling into our heart. We can chant the Lord's glories. We can sing Hare Krishna like we were doing outside, and we'll do again here in just a bit. We can remember the Lord, not just in the temple, but as we go around our daily lives. This is called smaranam. Padasevanam means you can serve the Lord's lotus feet. And that's something that you can really do physically here in the temple. We have the Lord. We can actually serve him in the temple in the way that we just did by taking him for a walk around the temple. And we can do deity worship. We can become friends with the Lord. There's so many other things that we can do to pull God into our heart directly. So if any of this resonated with you in any way, please raise your hands with me and repeat with me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jagannath. Okay, we're all going to stand up now, and as I was explaining a little bit earlier, we're like in the courtyard with God on the throne, and we're going to serve the Lord in that way. Hare Krishna.